Oh, yeah.
Oi, Su. Hello.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Hello.
241.
Is
Can you hear?
everybody can hear, or is just Suzanne can't hear?
Who's there on the iPhone?
I am. Enrique.
Henrique.
Eu. Me.
So can you hear me?
See anybody?
Yes.
No, I wasn't. I just took it off right now. I wasn't. Henrique can hear me. Susanna can't.
I think it's Susanna.
Yeah.
Because the rest of us is.
I'm gonna WhatsApp her.
How are you, Henrique?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. I'm glad you're doing good. So how was the procedure?
Everything was fine, actually, under the normal. So it's just recovering here right now.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
No, I cannot. No.
Yes, hello. I just got out of work, so it's gonna take me a while to get home. A lot of traffic.
Hey, John.
Good evening.
Something with my computer. Let me see why I don't hear anyone. Okay.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Last time I had that problem, I had to go out and come back in.
Hi, John. How are you? Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, guys. Now I can hear you.
Yay.
Yes.
Hi.
About Susanna, okay? It's over.
Yeah.
Meeting is over. Okay, thank you.
Good thing nobody had to face traffic to get to class today.
Wow, plenty of rain.
Right?
I'm driving right now. A lot of traffic.
No.
Stay away from the puddles.
Yeah.
I'll try.
Did you see what the water brought to California? Beautiful wildflowers everywhere in the deserts, on the hills in California because of the flooding.
Wow.
Beautiful, beautiful. They never had so many wildflowers.
That is wild.
Yes, that is wild. So the floods have some kind of good effect that they had. We've got plenty of rain here, so that would mean that we are pretty well soaked.
Yep. Hi, Tina.
I'm gonna mute my phone.
He's the iPhone guy, I guess.
The iPhone is Henrique.
It's me, yeah.
iPhone is Henrique, yes.
He's on his way home.
Should I put iPhone 826 Palmetto Expressway? Heavy traffic?
Heavy traffic. Are your windshield wipers on?
Yes.
Tina, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm just trying to figure out what's wrong with my hearing thing.
Your headphones?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm hearing on the on the computer, but my
Uh-huh.
phone's not working yet. But hello, everyone.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Just woman.
Did you see the new pictures from the James Webb Telescope? OMG, they had, go on YouTube and put down 60 Minutes James Webb Telescope. Are over the past between Hubble and now the James Webb Telescope, the view of the universe is incredible. Instead of seeing billions of stars, we see billions of galaxies. Incredible, incredible.
Yeah. Sounds like it. I have not seen it.
It's only a 12-minute presentation from 60 Minutes, so it's worthwhile to see because it'll bring us up to date. It's
Right.
miraculous what that's doing. Unbelievable. Imagine, and they use infrared photography because if they used regular, the spectrum is pretty unremarkable in infrared, and then they attribute certain colors to certain wavelengths, and it's incredible.
It all just makes us feel more and more insignificant.
Yes, but that's why Spiritism is good. We're just a part of this whole plan anyway.
Yes.
David,
Insignificant and special at the same time.
David, did you see the James Webb presentation on 60 Minutes?
Yes, I did, John. As soon as you sent it to me, I watched that, and I sent you some comments back, but you never read your email, right? So you never saw them.
I will read it someday, I will.
I also
Someday.
I also sent you the opening for Sunday, John, just now, okay? To your email and to your WhatsApp, so don't forget your opening on Sunday.
Excellent.
Hello, JC. How are you? Mary? Are you feeling better, Mary? Good.
Hi, good
Glad
evening.
to hear that. Hi, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Excellent, like John always says.
If I have to be remembered for something.
He gives us no other options but to be excellent as well, along with him.
Yes.
Exactly. The universe is unfolding as it should, right? So it's excellent.
I know. Anyway, my dear friends, it is 6:30 sharp. Cynthia has also joined us, or is joining us. So let's get going with our opening prayer for today. Hi, Cynthia. Right on time. I got spoiled seeing you over here. Now you feel kind of far because I had you so close.
Okay, well, very good to see all of you. So following Susanna's words, let's elevate our thoughts and breathe deeply a couple of times to help us disconnect from the concerns, from the stress, from the duties of every day and earthly life, and connect to celestial planes a little bit easier. And Jesus, our beloved Master, for the time that we made for ourselves to be here, a time that is blessed by both our beloved Master Jesus, God our Father, a time that we'll use to enlighten our spirits, to enlighten our minds, to free our hearts, to embrace love, charity, forgiveness, patience, and all of the other virtues that we're lacking. We ask God and beloved Master Jesus to bless our efforts to inspire us and allow the superior spirits that have an interest in this group to be with us throughout this session. So be it.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone, to all of you who are here with us in this Zoom classroom, but also would like to welcome everyone who might be following us today on the YouTube channel of the Spiritus Federation of Florida, and all of you who may watch this recording later at some other time. We are studying the Spiritus Review of 1858. We are in the journal of the month of January, and today we have one of the articles of January, which is Spirit's answer to a few questions, and the next one is physical manifestations that we may get to or not. So I will start by opening today's presentation. So give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay, so you all should be able to see this now. And now let me get my presentation. Here we are. And open here. Okay. All right, so I am better equipped today. I actually finally got a extension for my second screen. So this way I don't have everything, all the screens in one little screen. So it will be better today. I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we did finish the presentation, the previous presentation entirely. So today we are starting from the new article. But before we get to the article itself, so these are the two articles for today. But I just want to do a quick review of these slides here. We were talking last week about physical manifestations. We did a review on the perispirit, on universal cosmic fluid, and in the basics understanding, or as I like to think, the basic physiology of the physical phenomenon, especially when it relates to the dancing tables, because it is one of the most common phenomena that we hear. And the idea behind what makes an object that is inorganic to be alive. So I just thought I would review this very quickly and try to simplify it as much as possible before we move forward. So when we see a table moving, very simply stating, what we are seeing is a combination of fluidic elements that will give that table a temporary vitality. So we have the action of the universal cosmic fluid. We have the fluid from the medium, the animalized fluid, the vital fluid from the medium. And this fluid is, the object is embedded by this fluid. We also have the perispirit fluid of the the spirit itself who is driving the manifestation. So it is a combination of these three fluids. So again, the medium fluid, the vital fluid, the spirit, there spirits that will kind of surround and penetrate that object, that will create those two elements and the universal cosmic fluid. They will vitalize the table. When the table moves, it is the spirit will, the spirit command that will be transmitted and will make the table move. But the table moves because it has been involved, surrounded, penetrated by those fluids. The spirit itself would not be able to move the table wasn't for those fluids, because the spirit itself cannot act. The spirit, who is immaterial, cannot act upon the table, which is material, without an intermediary. Okay, so those are the intermediaries. And therefore, when the spirit wants, the thought of the spirit, utilizing those semi-material means, makes the table move. So I hope this is helpful, just to do this quick review. Just want to make sure it's clear to everyone. If anyone has any questions or comments before we move forward to our new topic. John wants to talk.
According to what I understand or have read so far, it's always inferior spirits who cause objects to move, and superior spirits may use inferior spirits to do their bidding if they want things to move. Is that the general picture?
That is the general picture, yes. And we will get a little bit more into it in a second, but you're absolutely right. Okay, so let's move forward here. Now we're entering at the actual lesson for today. So I had this kind of empty blackboard here because before I start talking, I want to see if just by your reading, and John, you kind of just did that. I think you brought an aspect that the article touches on, which is, you know, different level of spirits and what they occupy themselves with. But is there anything else that anyone would like to highlight or to ask or bring forward before we actually dive into it? They found to be interesting, that call your attention, is worth the comment. Okay. If no one has anything to bring spontaneously, we are going to make it happen. All right. So here we go. So this particular article talks about, those are some of the main topics that we find in it: the action of spirits upon matter, spirits hierarchy and their relation with with different types and levels of communications, usefulness of the physical manifestations, and physical manifestations versus instructive communication. So those are some of the topics that we are going to talk about. But I thought that before we actually start with questions and answers, I put here a hangman game for you all. Although here no one dies, especially because death does not exist. So we can try to solve this, you know, letter by letter, or we could just try to answer the question. So how can spirits act upon matter? So 2 words: Any volunteers to try to guess which words are based on what we have talked about, or just shoot a letter and we'll see how that goes. I'll give you a couple minutes.
Is it just 2 words?
Yes, 1 word and the other word.
Okay, I will shoot some letters, okay? Just to start it on. So letter T in Thomas.
T is in Paul?
T is in Thomas.
T is in Thomas.
I don't see Vanna. I don't see Vanna turning.
Oh, wait a second. I need to get it in this mode, otherwise I cannot write. It will change the slide. So here we go. T. I have another one. A second. That made easy.
And Susanna,
and there's one on the bottom. Hold on.
Okay.
Can we buy a vowel?
Well, you should know by now. How can spirits act upon matter? What is the first word?
JT here on the chat say perispirit is the second word.
Yes, correct.
And thought is the first word.
That's right. Thought and perispirit. That's correct. So those are the 2 main ways that, well, 2 of the key factors in that. So thought and perispirit. Very good. You guys are good. Okie dokie. So let's go forward. And one of the items that it talks here, and John brought up already some points, right? It's the spirit manifestations and the hierarchical scale. So it says here, there's a question actually that says, do the material manifestations such as noises, movements of objects, and all other phenomena which we provoke indistinctly produced by superior as well as inferior spirits? And, the answer is it's primarily the inferior spirits that will be doing that. And I think one example that I like to think about is you just look at a big company, corporation, institution that we have here, right? So it's not that the CEO or the medical director cannot do some clerical job, for example, but you have people assigned to that. Because in that company, there are other attributes and other functions that clerk will not be able to do. So each one is busy and occupying doing the tasks that are related to their level of expertise. And so this is kind of a simplistic and practical way of thinking about it, but I think illustrates well. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is that in order to produce physical phenomena, it's easier for a spirit that is actually more identified to the material realm, because the perispirit of that spirit is going to be more dense, more material, if you will. And therefore, there will be naturally, it will be more easy for the phenomena to be produced. If you have a spirit who is highly, highly elevated and whose perispirit is extremely, extremely ethereal, you know, it's obviously not going to be as easy. Now, higher spirits, spirits who are highly elevated, do have the capacity to lower their vibratory level, just like as Christ did, for instance, when, and any spirit for that matter, who comes from a more evolved realm, and often we are visited by missionaries who could very well be living, if they are not, but could be already in another planet, in planets at another level, that when they incarnate here, they do need to adapt themselves and lower their vibratory level in order to enter this realm. So the easiness, the easy identification of these spirits with everything that is material also makes easier for the phenomena to take place. So does that make sense to all of you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, so moving on, let me reopen this big the way I had. Okay, all right, so there was one item. The other item in this is this question: what is the usefulness of physical manifestations? Does anyone remember from the readings? What is the usefulness of the physical manifestations?
To attract the attention of of the beings, of incarnate beings. There's something else. Just attract attention.
Yeah, no, I think that was the primary purpose, right? As we were discussing this last week in Portuguese, someone else, talk about awaken people which is kind of a consequence of that, awaken people to the implications of the continuity of life. So the entire philosophy and the consequences, once we understand that we are an immortal being and how that changes the whole meaning of it can anyway, not necessarily, but it can change the meaning and the way that we live our existence. So this question is also answered in the text, and it is the first observation, and it says there, if the communications of the superior spirits offer a more serious interest, the physical manifestations also have utility to the observer. They reveal unknown forces of nature and provide us with means of studying the character and, so to speak, the costume of all classes of the spiritual population. So here he talks about gaining knowledge of unknown forces. So we just did that, right? So from Kardec's observation of the phenomena, he was awakened to the fact that life goes on. He studied and he gathered all the philosophical body of knowledge that we are studying today. And within this body of knowledge, he investigated, laws of nature that otherwise we would be probably for a long, long, long time oblivious to. So just what I was talking about when we first started the class, about the perispirit, about the universal cosmic fluid, about the vital fluid, and all these forces, and the forces of our thoughts, our creations, everything that relates to the spiritual life, and there are also laws of nature, is revealed from the moment that we become aware that the spirits are there, and they're able to respond and to share with us some of this knowledge and reality. Marcia or Greg, or Greg? Greg.
I'm also wondering beyond the book if you would include healing somebody who was very sick, or helping somebody who was in danger would be another usefulness of physical manifestation.
Yeah. Did you say, just to be sure, did you say healing?
Healing.
Yes, absolutely. It's interesting that you say that. No one brought that up last week, but yeah, most definitely. We learn about the fluids. We learn about our potentialities as immortal spirits. And we learn that, different utilities and purpose for all of this. So yes, that's a great example. John, are you wanting to talk?
I get confused when we talk about physical manifestations, because from what I've come to understand through Spiritism, it was told pretty clearly that the time of physical manifestations is past. What was Chico told directly, that he shouldn't pick up ectoplasm and take things out of a hat and whatever. But at the same time, it seems to me, and I may be wrong, that the time of turning tables, which I think would be on TV shows now, would be all over the press, it would seem, but it isn't. So is the message of the end of manifestations spread now, and there isn't much manifestations? And at the same time, it seems to me that imagine on TV, if they would show, then they say, well, they'll say it's a trick or whatever. But again, it seems the time is over. We've been given that message over and over again. And it seems to have disappeared from the public eye. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. These physical manifestations can be very taxing on the medium. And I think that, yes, I think that from the time of Kardec to nowadays, I think that the message of immortality is quite, has made quite progress. And we live today in a world that is a lot more spiritualist, a lot more aware of life after death. Today we have other type of phenomena that science allows us, like the near-death experiences, that with advance of science and the ability to keep people alive for longer and to be able to rescue people that probably would have died, but they're there, they're being saved by science. And so we have evolved, and we don't have tables flying anymore, but we do have scientific studies that look into reincarnation and we have near-death experiences, and we have the message being spread across the globe in different cultures by different leaders. So I think, I'm not sure, I think I was telling you guys, I'm not sure, but I was just listening to actually a friend of mine, someone who I was in school with, and it's a long story. I decided to look for this person and Google this person, and she's became a pastor, a minister, I'm not sure what would be the right term, of a spiritualist church in North Carolina. And I was just like in absolutely awe with the similarities of the message with Spiritism. So I was so pleased to see that. And I actually have been listening to her sermons, which is, I had to send her a message, because imagine, you know, someone in one circumstance, and then you find the person. It's like she has another life within this present life. And Reverend. So I said, hey, Reverend, you know, it's, but it was really interesting and really pleasing to see. If you close your eyes, you could swear, if you didn't see some of the rituals and some of the things that they had, you would think you were in a spiritual center, you know? So yes, I think that, you know, for these reasons, I think we have other resources today. They're pretty fantastic as well, and pretty impressive, and a little less costly, spiritually speaking, that are making a great impact. And the message is definitely spreading. Any other observations or thoughts or comments? No. Okie dokie. So we are going to move forward to our next one. Okay, so this is from the Medium's book, Analysis of Manifestation. It is essential to be on the guard against believing in the limited knowledge of the spirits. It's actually a statement, it's not a question. And so it's just a reminder, you know. And I remember when John first joined us, and when people first joined, that is one, and this was years and years ago, but this is one of the things that we talk a lot in the beginning when people are arriving, is that we have always to pay attention to the message they're giving, to the content of the messages, because there is still, because it was so embedded in the culture, the religious culture, this idea that you die and then suddenly, well, even if when we go to memorials today, it's like, no matter how, you know, I'm going to make a little joke here, so I'm not being serious, right? But no matter how depth of the person was, when the memorial suddenly becomes a saint, and everybody only has good things about to say the person. And in some ways, you know, this is the idea. You think that we had this belief that all the spirits turn good or are good, but when we get the messages, the spirits that might be communicating might know just as much as we know, or maybe knows a little bit more than we know, or maybe a little less than we know, and it's just taking advantage of our, you know, naiveness or whatever that might be. So we have to be very attentive and just know that spirits, sometimes you want to, like, for instance, John was telling and sharing with us the new discoveries, the new pictures of the universe. So you might be in a session and decide to ask the spirit about some of these findings. And who knows that if the spirit actually knows about those things or not, you know? So if the spirit is playful, he might give you any answer, right? And kind of trick you if you're not attentive, and if you believing, you know, blindly in everything that comes your way. So that's kind of an important aspect when we think about the level of the spirits. Okay, our next slide. How can one prove that the occult power acting the spirit's manifestations outside of the human being? So how can we have proof that what's happening, it's not being produced by the medium himself or herself? Anyone?
There are a few, right? But one of them I'll say is that when one notices that something is done not exactly because you want, it is just happening, right? It's not happening. It's not exactly our desire or our will that is commanding it. Then naturally, in that case, we will have reasonable cause to think or an evidence that that is a spiritual manifestation.
Yes. What else? Sometimes the knowledge that is being passed on is way superior and beyond what the medium himself is capable of producing, right? So I don't know if you have heard about this or not, but you know that the biggest medium in Brazil, in the history of Brazil, Chico Xavier, he pretty much did have barely, like, you know, very little education. And yet, the very first book that he psychographed, does anyone know what the book was about? What was the content of the book?
Parnaso.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Susanne, yeah, no, the from various poets and authors of very high-level intellectual works from the grave. He basically carried on, psychographed the new works by all these amazing authors.
Yeah.
Right, including the emperor, one of the emperors of Brazil.
Yeah.
Has a small poetry in that book.
Mm-hmm. So it's a fascinating book, beautiful book. You know, there's this story of one of the poets just being very annoyed with Chico's limitations, and like he had to kind of, you know, lower and redo the verse many times so he could actually grasp what the poet was attempting to say. But this is like examples like that, when the medium is speaking a language that is unfamiliar to him, that is a pretty powerful proof as well, right? How is that even possible? Does anyone know? So when
what do you mean exactly, Susanna?
Well, the medium doesn't know the language at all, but he's able to speak a language that he's completely unfamiliar with, and that is possible because he doesn't know that language today, but a lot of times that language can be in the archives of the spirit, right, from a previous experience. And the spirit is capable of reaching their memory and using that memory in, you know, his or her favor. And this brings another important topic, which is the importance for all the mediums to be as knowledgeable as possible. The more we study, the more we acquire knowledge. For example, there is, if you participate in a mediums group, for example, a lot of times you have spirits who come from other religions. And when you're going to have a dialogue with that spirit, in order to establish a connection with that spirit, it's best if you understand where he or she is coming from. What is the set of beliefs that spirit holds, so that you can speak his or her language. So again, the more knowledge that we have, general knowledge, easier it becomes for the manifestations. I'm gonna pass it to Michele.
It's just we have a comment from our friend JC on the chat. He says here, he used the language in a previous incarnation. He's mentioned about
yes.
the medium.
Yes, that's perfect, JC. Sorry, I didn't see it before, but that's absolutely correct. Any other thoughts or anything else to be shared in regards to that? Okay, so let's get back to the presentation. Okay, all right. How should we understand the following phrase? Someone interested in knowing the customs of a people has to study them from one extreme to the other side of the scale. Investigating only one class is to have a false idea as judging the whole by the part. So this sentence is in the text, and what is, does anyone want to comment or expand a little bit on it? I think about like sometimes I feel like I want to take my kids, for example, to travel to other countries and to see other realities, so they understand that life is not just what they experience in Miami Shores. Because if they think that this is what life is, they're only seeing one little piece of what life truly is. Because we have so many different dimensions and cultures and possibilities and levels of evolution. So, to have a really good understanding of life it's important to expand the understanding of, other ways of living. And so here in the book, it says, someone interested in knowing the custom of a people has to study them from one extreme to the other side of the scale. And it's going to continue by saying, investigating only one class is to have a false idea as judging the whole by the part. The spiritual population is like ours. There is everything, the good, the evil, the sublime, the trivial, the knowledgeable, and the ignorant. So remember too that the population of the earth is not the people who are incarnated here. We have actually many more discarnated, more discarnated than incarnated, right? And also when we think about humanity, we are not only thinking about the spirits who are related and who are tied up to this planet, but the spirits across the universe that we know and the universe that we don't know, that we are finding out still. So we cannot judge humanity just by this little sample that we have here on our Earth that is, for the most part, you know, very unconscious still. We cannot judge the spirits by one class. There is all kinds of spirits out there. So just having the broader vision again, and including all the classes into the equation. Someone, it was you, David, who raised your hand.
Was David and Fatima.
Was me, but you pointed out what I was talking about, that the importance to understand, to study more deep the other side, like as you say, especially us that we study the phenomena. So how important to have our mind open, and then don't just for the small phenomena that presented to us, that is way beyond to understand humanity and both sides. So help us to understand what's going on, what is coming, what's our part in this existence, and most importantly, what we can do, start to ourselves, to contribute to make a life better for us and for others around us, that we are connected both sides. So make a lot of difference when you understand that. You can see life in a different perspective.
I like that. I like that a lot. I like the fact that, you know, studying and understanding, well, helps us to understand where we came from, and also helps us to understand and have a frame to what's possible and what lies ahead of us. So for instance, when we study heaven and hell and we go to the cases that we have there, right? We see, for instance, we are reminded of what the harshness and the rigidity of one's heart can cause in terms of suffering, but also what things like patience and resignation can do in terms of spiritual evolution, peace, and well-being. So that comes from the study and the understanding of these spirits, the different conditions, and what they create, the realities that they create for ourselves. So nicely put. Okay. Any other thoughts or comments? I think that was the last slide for this particular. It wasn't a very long article, and a lot of the items in it we had already touched a little bit before, so some of them were a little bit of a review. And now we can go to the other slide. Hold on, let me get back to the slides. Yeah, so we enter the second article for today, which is physical manifestation. And in there, you know, it starts by, again, talking about, you know, that serious spirits wouldn't be linked to physical phenomena. We have discussed that quite a bit, so I'm pretty happy with that. So a sentence that we find right at the third paragraph is, in order to obtain such manifestations, it is absolutely necessary to develop certain mediums whose physical constitution is in harmony with the spirits who produce them. So I think here we have a new idea that we haven't touched in this class yet, which is the physical constitution of the mediums that's necessary for you to be a medium. So I would like to talk a little bit about that. And let's start by making something clear. In the medium's book, Kardec is going to use the term medium and mediumship, sometimes in a broader, generalist way, and sometimes in a specific way. So it is understood that everyone is a medium. So I like to say that we are walking around under the influence of the spirits. And in our daily life, we are mediums in this more general sense where we are being influenced. We have intuitions, we have inspirations, we are guided, and everyone is. We are obsessed. That is also a type of mediumship and influence. We all have a basic level of obsession in this planet that we live in and in the condition that we live in, where, you know, and it may not be continuous, but some ill idea comes into our mind. We might harbor that ill idea for a couple of days. You know, it's a very light, sometimes not harmful per se type of obsession, but nevertheless, it is an influence that is continuous and it's negative. So in that sense, yes, everybody's medium. But if someone comes to you and asks you specifically, are you a medium? The answer is not everyone is a medium. Because if someone asks you, are you a medium? That person is specifically asking whether you have a mediumship that is characterized by the items that we have here in blue, which is what? A well-characterized mediumship, mediumship that expresses itself through patent effects. It is of a certain intensity. It depends on a more or less sensitive physical organization and is inherent to the soul. So we are talking about, if someone asks, are you a medium? It means, are you an ostensive medium that has all these characteristics? So again, as you read the medium's book, as we go to the study, keep in mind that there is this difference. Sometimes Kardec is referring to a broader type of mediumship, and sometimes he's talking about a more specific one. But when it comes to the more specific one, the faculty, the mediumship, is organic, but is inherent into the spirit. So I'm going to give you an example that's going to make, I think, hopefully, very easy for you to understand. If I ask you, who sees the body or the spirit? The eyes or the spirit? Who sees? The faculty of seeing belongs to whom?
The spirit.
That's correct. The one who sees is the spirit. Okay? So much so that if you're born in a body and your eyes are not working, if you are blind, then you will not see, right? But the spirit itself is not blind. The spirit sees, so much so that you might be blind and yet has spiritual visions. So the ability to see belongs to the spirit. But for this ability to be able to manifest itself, it requires a physical body with eyes. They're able to carry out that ability. Mediumship is the same thing. It is a property of the spirit, but you need to have a body that has a level of sensitivity that is able to actually manifest that capacity. The same way that we know that the spirit sees and sees much more than we see, actually, because when the spirit sees, when the spirit hears, it does not do through this very limited and narrow channel. He sees and hears, and the perceptions of the spirit are general. He does with his whole being. But first, to be able to see, once we are in the physical body, we need the eyes. Does that help understanding? So when we are talking about mediumship, the people who are able to actually have extensive type of mediumship, they do have in the physical body a certain level of sensitivity that allows for the phenomenon. So if you have that, you might be able to develop your mediumship. But if you don't have that, you will not be able to develop it. So I, for instance, until, I don't know, maybe 35, 40 years old, I used to say that I had one type of mediumship that Kardec does not put in the medium's book. It's called the goosebump type of mediumship. So I would sit down to prepare, just before a talk, I would sit down, close my eyes to do a prayer, and all my hair would go up. Right here, I would feel my hair going up too. And so I would enter that state of goosebump, right? And so I used to joke that that was the type of mediumship that I had. Until the day I started going to a mediumship group. And in that group, I went to dialogue with the spirits, which usually you don't have an ostensive manifestation at that time. You inspired, but you don't incorporate. Then I start having all kinds of physical sensations, and my throat was really squeezing, and everything was numb and heavy and crazy. And I'm like, gee, I guess I'm in the wrong position in this mediumship group. And I switched and started little by little to work in the development of the mediumship. So anyone would like to add a comment, share an experience, or talk about this?
Yeah, it's very interesting that you mentioned that, because when I started in the mediumship group, I never thought that I was a medium. You know, and then when the sensation started little by little, I was very surprised. And and it is very interesting that is in us, and then we not aware until we'll be exposed to the situation. Of course, a safe place that was the mediumistic meeting that emerged little by little. And then it was an amazing experience, let's put it like that, because change us a lot. Sometimes we think that, oh, we're going to help the spirit. It's not, we help a little bit, but we're going to help ourselves first, because those experiences, those sensations that go through the spirit, and then we are be able to literally put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, make a lot of difference. I know the pain for a person in a deep depression. I know the desperation of somebody else that commit suicide. And then I know that I cannot judge them because I know the pain. You know, it's like you take the experience from the books or from wherever you read, because you're not there, and then suddenly you are there. And then you develop the compassion because you know. It's so amazing how the spirituality can help us in the sense that is here the experience. Nobody can tell, you can tell me, but the feeling and the learn is up to me, and then make a lot of difference in my life. Oh my God, and see the other part, the other one, the people around me in suffer, or sometimes they think they are doing so wrong, and then when you have them with us, change a lot. It's an amazing experience. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Greg?
I was remembering when you were talking about seeing that I heard a very common experience among those who've experienced near-death experiences, that they have 360-degree vision, and that they see colors that are beyond the normal spectrum that we see in our normal life that we see through our physical eyes. Seems like
did you have that experience?
No, not me.
No.
A lot of videos.
Yes, but some of the things that are reported on those experiences.
I have a friend who did have an experience.
Oh yeah. It's most of the times it's pretty life transforming. Yeah. It's funny, when Fatima was talking about, it came to me an experience that I had, because she was talking about feeling in your own body the pains, the aches, the depression. But I also had an experience that it goes back to knowing that it is something outside of you, because one time I had a spirit who came, who had a level of goodness and sweetness and kindness that I was feeling all that. I was absolutely in awe with that experience. And I was like, gee, if I ever needed a proof that what I'm experiencing doesn't belong to me, this is it. Because I definitely am not this person. You know what I mean? So it was humbling, but also it was like, God, this is what to be good and kind and sweet feels like. I'll never forget this experience, because it's like I have this reference in my psychic, in my heart, in my physical body, of what I can and will achieve one day, like all of us will. So it's kind of because a lot of times the experiences are very painful, but once in a while, it just happens that you can also connect with something like this, and it's quite inspiring.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes, you're right. So it's amazing when we get a lucky to have that experience. That in my case is not that often. I think I relate to more
not
to
in my case
the
either.
suffering.
We're usually there to
disturbance one.
To house the ones that better connect with us.
It is. It is.
That is the truth.
Yes, especially when we feel our mentor close to us, that he's there just to encourage us, and then to embrace with the kind of love that we not be able, at least I can talk to myself, I'm not be able to feel, not yet, but yes, it is. It is. It's very, it's a change in life that I can tell you.
All right, guys. Anyone else, or shall we move forward?
I'd like to say something.
Go ahead.
I was reading this book. I know the name in Portuguese. It's No Rumo no mundo de regeneração. This one, Susanna. I see. Wait.
No, it actually has been translated to English.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know how to translate these words to English. But anyway, it says here that
it's in the world of regeneration. It's by Manuel Filomeno de Miranda,
yes,
right?
yes,
The author.
exactly. Yeah,
just say for because this class is heard by other people, it might be someone who doesn't speak Portuguese. So I just want to say the name in English. So
yeah, I was trying to translate it because some words don't come up as fast as I'd like to. But it says here that your spiritual guide, I know if those are words, can take around 120 years working with you and until the moment that you incarnate and start working with your as a medium. So it takes a pretty long time for you to get ready to do whatever you came to do here as a medium. It's pretty interesting. It's a pretty long time, I think.
Yeah, this is a one case. It's not like, I don't think there is a formula when it comes to that, because
no, of course not.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, again, we just sometimes I say things, I'm just trying to put it out
clearly to everyone. I understand.
Yeah, if anyone, because sometimes for someone who might be listening to this and who is brand new in Spiritism, might take this, not you necessarily, but might take this as, oh, this is how it works.
No, sorry, it's not how it works.
Yeah, just for
I'm just trying to say that it may take a long time or not, depending on how ready you are for it.
It may. And mediumship is something also, as any faculty, that you develop over the course of life. So when you have a medium who is well developed in its faculties, a lot of times that's not the first incarnation that medium is working as a medium.
As a medium,
he or she has already had other experiences, and it's just kind of, expanding the faculty itself. And yes, we do the same way that we do courses here, like this one. Once we are in the spiritual realm, a lot of times we will continue to develop some of our knowledge, some of our faculties. We will start working on new ones in preparation for another life. And this time, the time that we stay in the spiritual realm varies tremendously, and it varies according to the needs of the spirit. For instance, when the spirit is immersed in guilt, it's a very, very, very painful experience for the spirit. So what we learn about spirits is that in the spiritual realm, the moral suffering is very tenacious. And the spirits, whatever we feel here, our emotional pains, our struggles outside of the physical body, they become even more tangible and lively. Therefore, a lot of times for someone who is in a lot of moral pain and guilt being a huge factor, it is merciful. The law is merciful enough to bring that person back sooner than later. Because once you immerse back into the physical body, you are relieved by the forgetfulness of the past, by the buffering that the physical body promotes, that gives. So we bring, a lot of us bring like kind of these ingrained guilt, kind of, sometimes you feel guilty, don't even know exactly from what, because it's kind of left over from other incarnations, but we don't remember. And it might be a vague feeling, but it's not tormenting us day in, day out. So there's a lot of relief for the spirit when the spirit reincarnates. So just kind of putting out there. So I hope that I will stay in the spiritual realm for a long time. Once I discarnate, I will be in no hurry to come back. But I say that while I'm incarnated. But then what we hear is that once you're there, you are eager to return, because once you're there, you know exactly what you need to continue to work. And you know that only by returning and actually getting that work done that we will move forward, that we will ascend another step. And we are thirsty for light. We are thirsty for light and lightness. And so it makes the trip down here all worthwhile.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's a great book, by the way.
It is very good, yes.
Yeah. Okay, any other thoughts? I lost track of the time. Almost 7:40. We have a few more minutes. So let's see what's next. Okay, so just a reference here. Okay, so in the Medium's book, chapter 20, the Medium's moral influence, we are going to find the question: does the development of mediumship have any relation to the medium's moral development? And the answer is no. The faculty per se is organic and therefore independent of morality. However, the same does not apply concerning its use, which can be good or bad according to the medium's character. So this is just a reference so we know where in the medium's book we find this topic, the fact that mediumship is organic, as we read here in the Spirit's Review. Here is the reference in the medium's book. But this question goes beyond to say that not only is organic, but it's also not related to morality. In other words, anybody can be more sensitive and people can be mediums, whether you are a reverend in a church, whether you are a spiritist, whether you are someone who doesn't believe in God or in anything, whether you are committed to hurt others. It's still, it has nothing to do with that. Now, when it comes to its use, it can be, again, good or bad, like anything that is neutral. It can be used for wonderful things, for healing. It can be used also to hurt and in destructive ways. Same thing with our intuition, right? You can, and even with prayer, you can pray and ask help to do bad things, to hurt others, inspiration for revenge, for example. And guess what? Your prayers will be answered because there will be a spirit who will be connected to that idea and that feeling that will likely respond to that. Michelle.
Just a kind of a question and at the same time a comment. You can help me. So
okay.
When depend on the moral, no, like it's not influence on the moral, of course. But if you are using your mediumship wrong, the spirituality can take from you or give you like a pause if you are using on the wrong way.
Yes.
Yes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and I particularly think that in cases where the spirit had a specific mission to do good and get kind of derailed on the way, a lot of times, again, that goes along with the mercifulness of the Father in terms of like let me take this tool away from you because it was given for your betterment, and you're using to compromise your existence even more. So that might be the case. And it's a very good point.
Thank you.
Okay, so all right, we're gonna stop here because this chapter 5, item 98 is a little long, and I think it calls for a slow reading and reflection. And time-wise, I prefer not to rush through it in the final minutes that we have. So we are going to stop here, but I want to go down to my last slide here. Oh my goodness. The class is not, something happened to, you know what? It was a frivolous spirit who typed that. And then it got all like messed up. But these are the upcoming readings. So if you want to go ahead and start reading, these are the 3 next articles, okay? Most likely next class we'll get to, you know, 1 or 2. The Goblins is a very light reading, and basically it's an illustration of how across time and in different characters, how this idea of different classes of spirits is portrayed in history and in our culture. So it's more like illustrations and examples. So we probably won't spend much time doing what I'm doing, like going and looking for paragraphs and ideas. It's more like for you to read and entertain yourself with that. We'll spend maybe 5-10 minutes on this. And then we go to private evocations, where we are going to do a much more detailed study. Going back here, if you want, go ahead, and I actually would recommend, and I'm sure Michelle is writing all that down, and she will remind me where we stop, and we'll remind you all what the readings are. But go ahead and read this. It's kind of an interesting reading, and we'll start next class discussing this item, okay? Yeah, I see your thumbs up. Excellent. Any questions for me? Any final comments? Let me close this.
No, I just have, I have a question. It's about Parnaso of Beyond the Grave. I was going to ask you, Susanna, or whoever was talking about it, what is the title in Portuguese that I haven't had the opportunity of looking up and
in Portuguese?
And saying it. No, in English. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't know. To be very honest, I don't have the answer for that. We can research. I don't know what the translation of Parnaso would be. So.
Okay. No, that's all, because I had not seen it before or heard it. That's why I said it. Right. But it's a good topic. I'll try to take a look at it and see.
Yes, that would be great. That will be great. All right, my dear friends, thank you so much for joining today. We will do our final prayer and end our meeting for today. So just quick words of thank you, of gratitude for this opportunity. Thank you to each one of you who joined us in the classroom today and made this class possible and fun, for the interchange, for the help, the guidance of the good spirits. We thank you and ask our mentors and benefactors to continue to bless us, to continue to inspire us, and to give us the drive to continue to grow, to learn, to deepen our knowledge, to help us to live each day and each moment of our lives more and more us immortal beings that we are. Thank you, and so be it. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for being here. So much fun. I look forward to seeing everybody in 2 weeks. Have great readings.
You
Bye.
too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Luiz.